Hello everybody, my name is Ajimaj Asante Goodman. To my left is Danielle Ali. To my closer left is Greg Goodman. To my right is Diana Ali. And we are presenting today Acting Black for Black Advancement Incorporated.
I'm sorry. It just had a ring to it, Acting Black.
So, we're going to tell you what Black Advancement is all about. Black Advancement is a movement that is built to uplift and combat problems in the Black community through action and dialogue. On today's topic, which is Acting Black, we're going to be going over the fact that people aren't necessarily monolithic within the Black community and how that possibly leads to the destruction of the Black community, which is interesting all in itself. But with that being said, I'll start my first question with Danielle. What constitutes Acting Black, and are these associations fair?
Black people, we have a culture. There's no denying that. But there's definitely some stereotypes within that culture, like, especially for women, like doing all this and the neck roll and the sassing and the loudness. I mean, people from other races definitely contribute that to acting Black. Or when I see a lot of different cultures reenact acting Black when they're around Black people, and it makes me feel weird. But like I know some white girls are like, oh, and I'd be like, what's all that? Like, I don't.
The dap, unnecessary dap.
Yeah, like.
Tell him it's his birthday. Tell him we don't go for pockets.
So I mean, what constituted? I mean, taking the stereotypes from our culture and exaggerating it.
But it's not just these stereotypes, it's the negative stereotypes. And in particular, there's a couple of them that gets attributed to the whole entire Black race. Like, my sister did describe one of the ones attributed to women, like the double snaps and the neck roll. But also because that we tend to be very angry and bitter, like all of us. So in terms of, when it comes to dating, or, like how you act on your job, like a Black woman seems like you can't have a bad day, because if you have a bad day and you're, sad and you get emotional, you get attributed as the bitter, angry Black woman, and that's unfair. Not all of us are like that. We have emotions just like everybody else. And also too, how a lot of times Black men are just automatically criminalized, like, oh, when they're walking down the street, they had to do something because they're Black. And I think that's one of the negative stereotypes that gets attributed when people first meet them, and it's constituted as acting Black, and that's how people have profited off of the Black community, and we're more than that.
Acting Black is generally fitting the box that they've put Black people in since slavery. Lazy, slow-witted, all that other, pretty much negative things that go along with it. Now, the problem with the whole acting Black thing is not only have white people put us in these boxes, also other Black people have put us in these boxes. So if you act outside of your so-called race, if you're outside the box, then you're considered a sellout or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can't really wear more than one hat, at least as a Black youth, without catching some kind of criticism from other Blacks. So it's just all about fitting in what society is deeming you're supposed to be. And I think that's really sort of a problem. As far as our own issues, that's a problem with us. We're gonna have to learn how to realize that we can do and act in pretty much any realm that we want to.
This topic kind of brings about something to me that struck me when I was in English. I think in 12th grade, the teacher specifically had asked me to do this paper. I'm sorry, it was speech class. He had particularly asked me to do this paper about whether they should allow Ebonics classes to happen because they had this idea that maybe if you did stuff in Ebonics, minority students would do better. And this question kind of brings that to mind. How would you guys feel about something like that if they started go ahead.
I took a class, one of my anthropology classes, linguistics classes, that talked about Ebonics and those types of dialects within the English language. And for those who legitimately speak it in that sense and who have grown up with it and who know about it, that may be a way that they could learn. But more so in the class, it's formally recognizing it as like a dialect and as, a form of a language that is legitimate, and just because, no, but why wouldn't it be recognized as not a formal and legitimate dialect? That's part of what the whole class was about. Who has the power, who gets to dictate what proper English is, and who
Well, I was going to
speaks
ask you,
that.
what do you do? Would you find that offensive if they were to come up to any of us within our classes and be like, well, you can take the test in Ebonics?
Oh yes, that would be offensive to assume that everybody speaks Ebonics. But if you recognize that that person does, then
Even if
that's
the person
different.
does, you don't find that to be sort of offensive? I'm just asking. I'm asking everybody, by the way. I'm not just asking you. But
I mean, if you're saying how they're classifying it as, if you want them to go as far as to classify Ebonics as a legitimate dialect, why would you be offended?
If it's recognized as a legitimate dialect and that's the dialect that you speak, then that's fine. But to assume that everyone who's African American automatically speaks that dialect without getting to know the person and see if they do, then that's offensive.
School systems, they got time
It's
for that.
completely and totally ridiculous. For one, they're gonna have to change that test every year. You know how fast slang changes.
I do.
So that's just offensive for one to be like, you just can't even speak English, darky. How about we give you this test in chocolate vernacular? Get out of here. That's just dumb.
From the standpoint of him, he had come across the article. He already had his own view of it, and he said, "I want you to do a speech on this to see what because I was the only black kid in the class."
Of course you
I mean, did you feel proud, honored?
Well, I think he wanted me to speak on it because of the article was addressing
Class.
me. So he wasn't addressing anyone else in the
Right.
class, and he agreed with my opinion, which I'll hold till the end. But I mean, that's
So
pretty much
here's another question. If you weren't in the class, would that have even been a topic in that class?
That's a very good question, and
I
I would.
know.
It may have been with him, not with most people. Most people wouldn't have asked me to do that anyway.
All I'm saying is if
But-
you weren't in the class and it was all white kids, is that even a topic in that class?
To me, I don't think so.
Even though there
I
are
know it's
white
not.
people who speak Ebonics, so
Or they speak different dialects of English that aren't recognized as proper English. It
Yeah.
has to do with the people who are in power setting that this type of proper English is the way that you're supposed to speak, and if you don't speak it, you're outside of
Well,
that.
well, all I'm saying is there's plenty of black dudes. There's also plenty of rednecks. I don't see them trying to make a damn dynasty test.
I wanted to bring up too about Rachel Gentile.
Go ahead.
How everyone criticized her about the way that she spoke when she gave the testimony about her friend who she spoke with just right before he got.
This is referencing the Trayvon Martin case.
Yes, referencing the Trayvon Martin case, and everyone really, spoke badly about her and spoke in ill will towards her, and it just highlighted and focused on how the way that she spoke, and it totally disregarded the questions that were being asked, the way that the manner the lawyer was questioning her, and if you took it all into totality, a person who quote unquote speaks proper English might have answered some of the questions in the same way, of the same kind of anger, or because that's a very traumatic and emotional situation, and then you have to go and testify and talk about it to a person who doesn't necessarily think the way that you do. I think that she highlights a lot of the stereotypes that they put upon black people, and that if you don't necessarily fit into a box, or if you do fit into the box, then all of a sudden you fit into the box some ways, but in other ways you don't. They forget that you're still a human being.
look, they equate Ebonics with being ghetto.
And being ignorant.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily always the case.
But you notice people who aren't classified as ghetto, they only speak like that in reference to making fun of it.
Okay.
With that said, maybe we should go to the website and see what they have to say. Guy on the couch, what you got, man?
All right, question number 1. What constitutes acting black, and are these associations fair? The first response comes from Rob Coles. Rob says, talking jive, being loud and confrontational, unemployed, bunch of kids, receiving welfare, etc. None of these associations are fair, as they all apply to all races. Some people are just sorry, and some of them happen to be black. Back to you.
Great, that's good. That was a very good, I think, response from Rob Coles. What do you guys think about it?
I think that's great. I think it's a good response.
All right. Well, with all that being said, we'll go ahead and plug the website, which is www.blackadvancement.com. When you go there, you should check out the research section. This section basically helps you get a better feel for each topic in case you don't feel that you know enough about the topic to discuss it with someone else or to be able to respond on the website. Also, we have a newer tab, which is debates. Is basically our roundtables here that we do. If you would like to be a part of that, go to our contact section and you can contact us and get involved in that. And also, I'd like to point out the solutions section, which we currently are doing 2 solutions right now, which is one is page 57, which is a documentary about the school system. Another is the Pin It Forward program, which is ongoing throughout this year. With that said, we'll be right back after this.